Advatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanditamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Pravave Namaha Madhuryo Jwala Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktira Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Sri Murtaye Dinatarne Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakchiranandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virvava Bomestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bomashi Jagannatayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Sudatau Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarva Swapadamboja Radha Madanamohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadhramadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastau Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prishtali Bhisevyamanu Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamshi Vatatatasthita Karshan Venuswanir Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone. It's a great honor to be here in your association for the Divine Appearance Day of Srila Bhaki Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And to begin our discussion this morning, I've invited my dear godbrother, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, who's one of the pioneers of the Sankirtan movement, especially noted for book distribution. In the early days, he had gotten Srila Prabhupada's attention for distributing more books than any individual had done in the world by his deep dedication. and I've asked him to please recite the poem that Srila Prabhupada wrote for his Guru Maharaj on the occasion of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day in 1935. And this was something that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta noted. He had empowered his disciple, Abhay Charan Aravinda, and noted that he saw something in him, that he would be able to communicate the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. And after he wrote this poem, everyone could see the brilliance of his spiritual inspiration from within his heart from Lord Chaitanya to express in perfect language in English, although it was his second language, the mood of the Sankirtan movement in the glorification of his spiritual master. So, over to you, Sarvabhauma Prabhu.
Adore ye all, the happy day, blessed in heaven, sweeter than May. He appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope, his divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent prayer. Wonder thy ways to turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. Gives us a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save us a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service, as drawn by you, is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, for internalizing that message and exemplifying it in your life. Hare Krishna. Thank you, sir. Thinking of context, here we are at a leadership gathering talking about what are the main principles for carrying forth the Sankirtan movement. After all, when Srila Prabhupada was queried about what is an advanced devotee, and there were several terms mentioned during that conversation in the morning walk, which is recorded on the Vedabase, term of pure devotee or acharya, were mentioned, and Prabhupada's pointed conclusion was a phrase from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which glorifies Srila Advaitacharya, in which it says, Acharya Bhakti Samshanat, Advaitam Harina Advaitad, Acharyam Bhakti Samshanat. Shamshanat means to relay a message. And bhakti, obviously, bhakti shamshanat, to carry forth the message. And Prabhupada was answering about the position of an advanced devotee. He said, pure devotee doesn't mean omniscient like Krishna. because one of the interlocutors had asked Prabhupada, well, what if we see that an advanced devotee or the spiritual master has to wear glasses or forgets a verse? And Prabhupada said, oh no, then they have not understood. And then he said, advanced means bhakti samshanat, that the person is fully absorbed in thinking about how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world and practically engaging in it. And he said that is the meaning. We find the same context in the Sri Upadeshamrita when Prabhupada's talking about different levels of devotees. Krishneti yasya giritam manasa drayeta dikshasti chet praniti bishta bhajantamisham shushushaya bhajana vignamananya manya nindari shunya hridamipta sangalagya. And in the purport, he describes Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttam, and Srila Prabhupada describes how the Uttamadhikari is one who's always thinking of Krishna, and especially in the context of devising means to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. That is the absorption of the devotee. This is a unique, although perfectly shastric, explanation of an advanced devotee, and it is the flavor of our Sri Guru Parampara, coming down through Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who made this a focal point for the movement. In fact, Prabhupada mentions how he had introduced the chanting of 64 rounds, reduced it to 32, then 16, and he said, if we're able to do that regularly and use the balance of our time for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, working hard in that matter, certainly we'll be accepted by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this is important, especially when we're talking about the great acharyas, and today we're remembering Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And especially we can remember him in relationship to Srila Prabhupada. And several ways in which Srila Prabhupada described his relationship with his spiritual master. And we can see Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's interactions with Srila Prabhupada can be instructive for us regarding leadership and the way we act, our achar, sat achar. One is Prabhupada's emphasis on the importance of the order of the spiritual master. A phrase Prabhupada had spoken in relationship to his discipleship of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that he said, I took it from his mouth that he was very fond of books. And thinking of that means there was some advocacy. The word advocate has the word vak in it, which means something spoken. Many people speak things, but it doesn't mean anything. It has to be in proper context. If you're standing outside a 7-Eleven or whatever the equivalent is here in India, and somebody says you should go to jail, you just get in your rickshaw and leave, and you don't go to jail. But if you're in a court of law and the judge, properly or duly appointed, says you have to go to jail, then you have to go to jail. Context is important, and the context of the Guru Parampara is vital because there's authorized speech that comes down from Krishna, and that is the vibration that is fit to uplift any soul in this world. What to speak of empower is mentioned in 10th canto, 2nd chapter, in the prayers of demigods to Lord Krishna within the womb. Swayam bujaksha kilina veshita chetasaike twat pada potena mahatkritena kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdim. And that is that the goal of life is to meditate on Krishna, one-pointedly be in samadhi. And then they go on to say, I'm saying they because it's the demigods plural, Twat pada potena mahatkritena, that when you follow the great, the Mahat, Kritena, then you become great. What's more, you become liberated. And the process of self-realization, Prabhupada explains in his purport and in the next purport, is that the great souls embrace the path that Krishna has given, and they also codify it in such a way that anyone can follow it. In fact, he says they codify it in such a way that they can follow it themselves, and then they leave that process behind for others to follow. And Twatpada Potena Mahatkritena Kurvanti Govatsa Padamba Babdim means that if you're willing to follow that path, then the ocean of material life, which is impossible to cross, Daiviheshu Gunamayi, etc., it shrinks to the size of the water contained within the hoofprint of a calf. So you can easily step over by the mercy of the greats. This is something Sutta Goswami also mentions in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the outset, second chapter. Bejare Muneyo Tagre Bhagavantamadhoksajam Sattvam Vishudham Shemaya Kalpanteyi Nutaniha. Previously, the great souls followed the path of Lord Vishnu because they knew he's transcendental, he's beyond the material modes of nature. And anyone who follows in the footsteps of those sages, even if they're not great sages, they could be anyone, becomes eligible, kalpante yenutaniha, in this world, they become eligible for the same result that the great sages achieved. And Srila Prabhupada stressed that he had no qualification. He stresses this. Stressed means he said it many times. My only qualification is I followed the order of my spiritual master. And following the order, and this goes to leadership in a spiritual organization, without any expectation of personal gain. In other words, I'm leading in such a way that I can follow the order of the Guru Parampara, and whatever that might mean through the chain of authority in my spiritual organization. But I'm doing it in such a way as to cooperate and help in the best way possible without a sense of personal gain, aggrandizement, profit. And Srila Prabhupada had said that this was the qualification, the way that he had embraced the order of his spiritual master. He mentions his revelation upon reading Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. If there's any way to get more air in here, I think that it'll be beneficial to the brains of all, because partially the brain runs on oxygen. When there's a lack of it, the productivity goes down. Is it possible? More air? Can one order more air? Turn fans on, get air? How would one follow the order of the spiritual master with no air? This is an instructive point, although we've heard it many times. It's a entry point for anyone, that the order is an on-ramp to follow the great souls. One can begin from whatever position one's in and do the best one can. Prabhupada said, after receiving the order from his spiritual master, and it's well known that in 1922, Prabhupada's classmate and friend Naren had urged our Srila Prabhupada to come meet Srila Bhaki Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We all know he was reluctant. And there was a scene on the street, according to a Back to Godhead magazine article by Satsvarup Das Goswami, with one friend pulling on the arm of another. Passers-by might have thought, yes, they're friendly, but what's going on here? He's dragging him. And Prabhupada said, I was forcibly dragged. And those steps are still there at Ultadanga Junction Road that Prabhupada traversed. They're preserved. It's symbolic, but in the sense that we can also traverse those steps. It's a matter of a will. Prabhupada came a little bit against his will, and that's part of the Sankirtan movement also. When we go out to spread the order, we do meet people who are slightly reluctant. We just came back from our yatra in Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan. And during that yatra, we emphasized distributing books and having Harinam Sankirtan going to and from and during our programs. Happy to say in the last 10 days, we distributed 5,000 books to the people. And I personally witnessed this sense of Naren dragging, a little bit of dragging. We met a man in Puri, just said we have left the ISKCON temple and we were walking towards Lord Chaitanya, who's in the center of town. The closer we got to him, the more Bengalis we met. And I saw a gentleman down some stairs trying to stay a little bit out of sight, smoking a cigarette, a Bengali gentleman. And we approached him with our proposition of him accepting books and perhaps giving a donation. And when we came to him, he had a cigarette and he put it behind his back. And I was thinking how this is Bhakti Shamshanat. If you follow the order and you go out into public and you're a representative, you feel some authority. The man put the cigarette behind his back. He tried to do everything possible with one hand. It's not possible to give a donation when it's in your wallet with one hand. So he tried to balance the cigarette on the ledge behind him and keep it going because there was a little bit left. He gave the donation. We walked away. We looked back. He was reading the book and smoking his cigarette. This is the power of the order of the spiritual master when one accepts humbly that I am a servant of the servant of the servant. One becomes an authorized personality. Our Srila Prabhupada, of course, as he mentions himself, you might say it was a chance, or he said it was destiny. But he met his Guru Maharaj there, as we all know, who gave him the instruction there in 1922, before he sat up straight, before his Guru, after he had offered Dandavat obeisances along with his friend Naren, that you should spread the Krishna conscious movement in the West. What a startling order, but it went to his heart after some discussion in which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave another principle that we can imbibe for leadership, and that is when Abhay, who are now our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhakti's Divine Grace, had argued with his spiritual master that we need independence in India. And who will listen to us when we're subjugated by the British? First, we need to achieve independence, and then our voice will be heard in the world. To which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had said that this is too important to wait for anything. He also said the material world is categorically problematic. It's not that you have problems, it's that the whole world is a problem. And there's a way in which the only solution to that problem, he spoke authoritatively, is to take the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread it around the world. This was an order that Abhay had been waiting for. He had been primed for this by his pure devotee father and by his destiny as a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. When that order came into his heart, he said he kept it also instructive as how patient his spiritual master was with him. This is another principle of leadership, of fanning the spark. First of all, a preacher of Krishna consciousness, a leader in the Krishna conscious movement, should have the vision of potentiality in every living being. There's a way in which some judge people by their past. Others, on a higher level of acceptance, consider people's present condition. So what about the past? Now, this is what you are. But the highest level are those who consider the potentiality, means the future. And for those who are engaged as servants of the Sankirtan movement, sometimes we may complain, what's this guy doing in the movement? But he might say, to me, who let you in? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu let everybody in, provided they agree to follow the order, the simple principle. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had this clear vision when he saw when he saw Abai. Why did he say it before he even sat up? You should spread this all over the world. Because he was able to see, he had the potential. Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. The preacher, the Madhyamadikari, said the Yogendras, a very high-level devotee. In fact, Uttamadikaris sometimes come down to the Madhyama platform in order to represent Krishna. And they see 4 categories of people. This is their duty to develop this vision. Or you can say, if someone's developed this empowerment to have this vision, then they're called a Madhyamadikari. And that is, they see the Supreme Lord. They know He's the goal of life. They see those who are devotees, and they make appropriate friendships and offer service as per Krishneti yasya giritam manasaya triyeta. They also see the innocent, Bali Sheshu, those who are open. And then they also see those who are averse, inimical towards God. And they act appropriately to each one of these classes of people. For the Supreme Lord, they do everything to remember Him, develop their prema. For the devotees, they offer service and friendship, develop friendship appropriately. And for the Bali Sheshu, the innocents, they pour in as much nectar as possible. That's the preoccupation of the Vaishnavas. It's compassion. That's our job. And it's good work if you can get it. And we're meant to go out everywhere and find the Bali Sheshus and pour in as much mercy as possible. And then for those who are Dvisatsu, we should have a sense of compassion, but non-engagement. Jiva Goswami says, don't push them because they're already inimical. Don't make them more inimical, but you can leave them with a good impression. And you can also pray for them. And pray for yourself to have a means in the future to engage them. What was it that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta saw within Abai when he offered obeisances? And how was it that he nurtured him over so many years? After that meeting in 1922, in 1923, I'm saying Abai, I could say Srila Prabhupada, he then went to Allahabad because he had a child, one child at that time. He'd been married for 3 years, 4 years when he went to Allahabad. And there he started a franchise of pharmaceutical business. It was very successful. And he says, I was always thinking, remembering how I met my Guru Maharaj. And he said, within my heart, he said, practically, I accepted him in my heart. And then there was another chance meeting because the members of the Gaudiya Math had come to the Kumbh Mela. You've heard of that, right? It was going on at that time. And they had come there to Allahabad, and according to the locals, they said, you go meet Abai Babu. He's very pious. He'll help you. And they wanted to establish a center there. They wanted help with their preaching work at the Kumbh Mela as well. So when they walked into the pharmacy that day, that was 5 years, 1928. And at that time, Prabhupada recounts, that now I saw they had come again, the representatives of my spiritual master. And he was so happy, joyous, to then engage in some service to help them. And Prabhupada had business interests in Bombay, Allahabad. He was back and forth. And he helped the Math significantly in Bombay. And by 1933, he had met his spiritual master again in Radhakund at his Vyasa Puja, which was, you do the math, how many years ago. And there, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta reiterated the order that he had given him when he first met him. Because Srila Prabhupada, and we know how it is, it's confusing to know what to do because we have duties. Prabhupada had duties to do. He had a business, he had a family. He had the order of his spiritual master in his heart, incubating how to balance all these out. So he's asked his Guru Maharaj at Radhakund, so what is it? What's the order? His Guru Maharaj said, if you ever get money, print books. He said, this is high-class preaching. Writing, publishing, distributing books. He said, we've built some temples when people came forward voluntarily. Like people are voluntarily coming forward and giving money for the TLVP, right? Say yes. And he said, so that's a seat from which we go out. This is the high class to show compassion to all living beings. He told them that it's a way in which people are suffering because they're in ignorance. No food program, no hospital can help. Only Maya Mugda Jivera Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan. Jivera Kripaya Koi. There's an intervention through knowledge that comes from transcendental literature, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said. And he had taken up from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who had written the book, Lord Chaitanya, his Mission and Precepts, I believe it's called. Life and Precepts. He had sent it out to, as we know, McGill University, Thoreau, Emerson, other luminaries, with the hopes that there could be a universal religion in which people from the East, West, all over the world could come together under the banner of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chant Jai Sachinandan. Chant what? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, just as Srila Advaita Acharya was compelled to call out for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear, so similarly Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur called out for someone to help him with his very clear vision. What is our brand? Our brand is pure devotional service. That's it. What do? We worship Krishna with no motive. And our methodology, our vision, what's our mission all over the world? Priti Viti Achayata Yaran Nagaradi Gram. To every town and village. That's a big mission statement. And our vision is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, everyone will come together and dance and chant the names of God without any other concern. So he re-emphasized that order to his disciple there at Radhakund, where he also accepted second initiation. And he had offered that poem. And in 1935, what? He wrote the poem 1935, and his spiritual master departed in 1936. But there was also, whenever we go to Jagannath Puri, and we have the benefit of having Madhavananda Prabhu's association, we go to the Gaudiya Math there at Chatak Parvat, where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur established a bhajan kutir. He always mentions that just 2 weeks before his spiritual master left the world, our Srila Prabhupada had written another letter to confirm the order. And he said, what is my duty? He said, I can't serve you directly like so many others. So what should I do? And he reconfirmed to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that you please preach this in English in the West, spread it around the world. And as Madhavananda Prabhu loves to point out, he said, this will do good for you, and it will do good for everyone who helps you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhavananda. What's more, there's a phrase that we might pass over very easily, but it could become our life and soul. If somebody wants to have a vitalization of their spiritual life or of their community somewhere, we can take a phrase that Prabhupada uttered himself from his own lotus mouth, which was, "So kindly help me." 1975, Los Angeles, from the Vyasasana. Prabhupada talked about his mission following a spiritual master, which had unfolded after his spiritual master's departure. Prabhupada had, minus all the India endeavors and many details, he had come to America. He had gotten some money. There was no money at that time, but when he did get some, he bought a printing press. And he had also had 10 of his disciples apprentice in New York City of how to work a printing press in different jobs. So as soon as Prabhupada got some money, bought a house on Beacon Street in Boston, and Narayana came and reinforced the floor of the old house so that it didn't cave in with the weight of the printing press. And he brought it in. He soon afterwards started ISKCON Press to print books, just as his spiritual master had said. That was circa 1968. And 1972, he founded the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which was full scale to find ways and means to fulfill the vision of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and the Guru Varga at the time, to give compassion for all conditioned souls by mass distribution of Vaishnava literature. I have a few more thoughts, but I think it'll be better in the context of discussion. Those who have highly relevant and conversation expanding questions can perhaps ask now. And Navina Narada has already been seated in the audience to ask a question. So,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. In this day and age, accepting an order and authoritative instruction may not seem very palatable. There's many options, many places to go, many things to do, and being told what to do may not be on the top of the wish list of the conditioned soul, even of the aspiring spiritualist. What is it that is lacking to grab that order and make it one's life and soul?
maybe an understanding of how beneficial it is to accept it and how hard it is to work on your own without proper guidance. If one can confirm that one is following Krishna's order, and that by following Krishna's order, one's life can be reasonably successful, or completely successful, but reasonably peaceful. And by contrast, by following one's own mind and not taking shelter somewhere and embracing an order, then one may be tortured by the various opportunities. There's a book, scientific study, called The Paradox of Choice. Living entities seem to do well when they accept a supreme authority. Prabhupada says it's due to lack of a goal that one's mind is unpeaceful, and the ultimate goal is to follow Krishna. So one can educate oneself about the benefit of following Krishna through the Guru Parampara. I don't know, I've never really had I remember I was asked to wash pots when I first joined, and I thought it was a great idea. And I didn't mind it at all. I just was happy to be in the building, and then they came one day, Krita Karma, my temple commander, and said, we'd like you to do something else. And I said, what is it? And they said, you go out with one of the devotees and learn how to distribute books. And I thought that was okay too. And I've just found that having something clear that you can verify is an authorized way to participate in following the orders helpful. Okay, let's see if there's another question. Akurnath.
We know you're a great spokesman, a great example for distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. But, what other, aside from book distribution, what other avenues for fulfilling Bhakti Siddhanta's desire for different kinds of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement do you find optimistic about?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't know if you've noticed, but oftentimes when I give Bhagavatam class, I don't talk about book distribution because I don't want to be typecast. It's like, yeah, you ask him to give class, he's just going to talk about book distribution. But I thought today I had a little leeway since it was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's appearance day. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is famous for having revitalized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's clear instructions and methodologies for following the process of devotional service. Most particularly, Prabhupada mentions in a lecture that he gave on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's appearance day was he had defeated the Jati Gosai. There are 13 deviant sects have grown up, which shows how just by degrees one can concoct something and then living entities tend to gather together and then make a movement out of new things. And therefore, it's highly important, it's, yes, to become well educated in the science of Krishna consciousness. This is also one of the precepts of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, who began the Bhakti Shastri program as an example. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta. And he emphasized that one should be very clear about what Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is and what also it isn't. Siddhanta Balaya Chitanakara Alash Iha Hoite Krishna Lagid Sudharmanash. He distinguishes, as does Prabhupada, the difference between those who take devotional service cheaply, who don't follow Shastra, Shruti Smriti Paranadi Panchachiki Vidambina Aikantiki Harer Bhakti Patayaiva Kalpate, and therefore, because they don't know Shastra, they don't follow Shastra, they concoct something, they cause a disturbance to society. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was an avid teacher of Shastra and Siddhanta, and he advocated that those who join the Krishna conscious movement should be similarly educated to know what it is. So I recommend taking the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta. I'm taking it. I'm almost done. And I don't look forward to finishing. I would like to be forced more to engage in, because that's one of his major contributions, and it's borne out in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tashradhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pasyantyatmani chatmanam bhakta shruta grihitaya. Devotional service should be fortified with clear knowledge of the Shastra, and Prabhupada specifically talks about knowing the teachings of the six Goswamis very clearly, to be able to know what bhakti is. So that's important, and to that degree, Prabhupada especially mentions how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had a huge war. I guess wars are huge in general, otherwise you'd say something like a battle. So it was a war against the Jati Gosai, who had closed ranks, so to speak, and claimed exclusivity in being the leaders of Lord Chaitanya's movement, or teaching spirituality in general, saying that it was hereditary. And of course, according to Michel's Iron Laws of Oligarchy, something that my godbrother Vishnu Prabhu introduced to me many years ago, which says that as soon as a person, even who has goodwill to do something for the world, do something nice for the world, gets a sense of power, then they transfer their energy to protecting the power rather than doing their energy for doing the job. It's a problem. It's been a problem since the beginning of time. That's why people sometimes say, oh, religious movements, they're a cause of so many problems. It's not necessarily religious movements, it's people that cause problems. In case you haven't noticed, being a Goshtiyanandi in general can be a real pain because of people. So he defeated the Jati Goswami single-handedly, most notably in his debate that he attended in replacement of his father. And it was such a sound exposition of Shastra and logic that the people in the crowd there almost stampeded to try to touch his lotus feet. Somebody who should have been promoted after that to GBC had dipped his lotus feet in some water and then sprinkled it on and thus diffused the crowd and lessened the carnage. Or there was no carnage, hopefully. So that's notable, that we should know Siddhanta, we should be known for straightforward but also realized teachings that touch the hearts of people so they can take to the path of devotional service and not concoct anything. That's a thing. And that's a part of our institution. So Prabhupada said to a group of us in San Francisco around 1974, he said, I've not written these books just for selling. I've written them for you to read, become pure devotees, and go back to Godhead. And so reading and studying and hearing and chanting is one of the teachings that we can take up, another of the teachings. And another is the principle of yena tena prakarena manat Krishna deveshayat. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his great compassion for people of the world who had different psychophysiological mindsets, natures, he would adjust the presentation that he was giving in order to capture them. For instance, he notably, famously, came to Radhakund in a car. He also dressed his disciples in Western clothes for effect. The effect was whatever it takes to help people embrace Krishna consciousness. According to the Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhav, he would put on festivals. On the exterior perimeter of the festival, there would be cotton candy, anyone? And Ferris wheels. Yeah, it's health food. And people would better get attracted to that. Then there would be concentric circles going inward further and further until you get to the Harinam Sankirtan and the literature. And people would be sucked in. The yena tena prakarena principle of one way or another attract people to come in so that they can somehow or other think of Krishna. It was a principle of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in utilizing everything. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita. Nirbandha Krishna sanbande yuktam vairagyamuchite prapanchikatya buddhya harisambandhi vasina mumukshabhi prityago vairagyam palgukatyate. That is, everything in the world is paraphernalia to be used to expand the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nothing should be left behind. That was a hallmark of his strategy that was picked up by his disciple, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Can I have my phone? People have been sending me quotes, notable people, and since it's there. It's on there. All right, I won't read them. Rameshwar Prabhu had sent me a quote this morning from the Veda base saying, Srila Prabhupada had mentioned that by taking the order to expand Lord Chaitanya's movement, to take it seriously, he mentioned, Prabhupada said, you'll get 1,000 times the blessings from my Guru Maharaj. And it was something that Srila Prabhupada again and again emphasized in that conversation in 1974. One of the devotees in the room had said, Prabhupada, it's all your mercy. And he said, it is not. He said, it is the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. And he would always defer to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yesterday, Navina Nirada Prabhu had questioned whether if somebody grabs a copper wire, it's the electricity, if it's a chain of people, does the electricity go through and then amplify as it gets to the end? Well, the answer is a little bit complicated because there's amplitude and current, and I don't understand the difference between the two necessarily. But when I asked ChatGPT, it said, no, the last person in the line doesn't get more. But then when I heard this quote this morning, I understood that ChatGPT doesn't understand the spiritual principle, which said the person further away somehow or other gets 1,000 times what you got. But the fact is, it's available to everybody. This is one of the principles of leadership, is to try to fan the spark in every person. When you see somebody, try to see the potential and try to give them an opportunity, encourage them, because you never know. I mean, they're all souls. They can come up. That's the mood of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. That's our movement. It's about compassion. Let's see if we have one more question.
Yes, Vaisesika, Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hey,
Thank you for
Kalakanda.
that delightful class, Vaisesika Prabhu, and recitation, Sarvabhauma Prabhu. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gave a very specific order to Srila Prabhupada. What is your advice for someone whose only order from their spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulator principles?
They're very lucky. I mean, that in and of itself is no small feat. It's more than getting ready for an Olympic event. Sometimes I see young people nowadays, they're going to school, college, and they grow up in an environment where all A's isn't enough, you have to have A+, and then they start chanting 16 rounds, and I tell them, and following 4 regular principles, that it's like being a 2-sport athlete in the Olympics, which requires sacrifice from the very beginning. So if one could follow that, then as Lord Brahma says, Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukaritan bhavadiya vartam. And in the purport, jivanti san. So if you could just stay alive and hear Krishna Katha, that's fine. And it's similar in Tenu Kampam Susamikshimano Bunjana Evatmakutampi Vikapa in 110.8. And the first paragraph is the commentary of Sridhar Swami, and he says, what's the duty of the son of a rich man? What's the duty? Stay alive. He said, so somehow or their main thing is to stay alive in Krishna consciousness. So somebody, hallmark of our teaching, again, I've used the word 3 times, sorry. There's a way in which if one chants Hare Krishna non-offensively, they'll become the most valuable asset anywhere. Just chanting Hare Krishna is enough. If you can chant 16 rounds every day without offense and follow the 4 regular principles, you'll become celebrated wherever you go. In fact, Prabhupada said devotees are celebrated wherever they go because we carry the mantle of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he said if you follow 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds, which is what's been passed down to us, then people, as Prabhupada noted in Surat, when the devotees first went there, they were grabbing dirt off the ground till there were divots in the ground. These were Americans, and the Indians from Surat were grabbing the dirt and rubbing it all over their body, and Prabhupada said that's because you follow 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds. And just when we were going in Vrindavan to the Raman Reti, unfortunately it was on a Friday and we left a little late and we got in a horrendous traffic jam, everyone wanting to go to Raman Reti. And so the buses we had, 3 of them, they all got stuck. So the devotees, they all had book bags and they jumped off the buses and they started distributing books to everybody in the traffic jam. And then suddenly the buses took off and they missed their bus. So one of the other buses that had nothing to do with our yatra saw them distributing books, said, "Get on our bus." And because they were representing Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, carrying the mantle, they told us they felt authorized to get on that bus. Not only that, they were welcomed. Similarly, we'll be welcomed everywhere if we chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regular principles. What's more, Tesham Satat Yuktanam, everything else becomes clear about what to do if one does that. And that is the main principle. If we chant Hare Krishna without offense, then we'll get clear instruction from Krishna of how to interact with others, leadership, how to form a mission and expand it. And that's our main job. Speaking of main jobs, I just have a couple of quick announcements to make. One is that, sorry, I didn't mean to grab it so abruptly. My wife told me not to do that. We have a campaign going on right now, as we always do, because when we stop doing book distribution campaigns, people vociferously complain. You might think it's the opposite. They say, how come we're always pushing so hard? It's because it's a short life. We only have a few minutes on this planet in geological time. We might as well leave it all on the field. What do you say? Say yes. Say Haribol. So right now there's a soft campaign going on because we don't want to jangle anybody's nerves. And that is that we're distributing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets all over the world. We have a goal of at least 7,000 sets for the world, which is, I know, it's introductory. But it's there nonetheless, and it's called Be a Gardener. It's a beautiful campaign, it's all branded, and it's going on right now. And so here, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is behind me on a table, right next to, Sarv, go like this, on display next to His Grace, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, which is indicative of the good fortune you'll get if you take one. Yes. Okay, one set. Haribol. Okay. Take the names, everybody's name. Volunteers are on standby to pass you a chit. So the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita price anywhere in India is rupees 4,300 only, including shipping. Devakinanda Prabhu, a couple years ago, pledged for 5, and this morning he said, send him a letter to Bombay. He has a check already made out. 2, a form will be handed with a pen to be filled out. That's happening right here. Forms to be submitted at the table behind the Vyasasana, because it's way back there. Oh, it's right there. Okay, no stampede, please. Shipping takes a few weeks. We will ship it to you. And it's available in North America, UK, UK, and obviously India. India, UK, and North America. And if you're not in one of those countries, please move. No, just kidding. I also, at great risk to our safety, have a gift for everybody in the class, which is a table way on the other side of the temple room because, oh no, it's right over here. I have a gift of a token of appreciation. I really feel so grateful to be part of this movement. I just a little nobody sitting in a suburb, Lafayette, California. Didn't know what to do until Prabhupada arranged to send the Back to Guided magazine, and then I knew I had hit the spiritual jackpot. And I just feel grateful to be a part of this, to have your association, and thank you for letting me hang around and try to do some service at your lotus feet. And today we pray. Should I say anything else? Right afterwards, we're going to move back here and give out tilak balls to everybody. I hope. If not, I'll make up for it later while I'm here if you didn't get one. And also, We'll take your orders for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets. By the way, there's 1 minute left. Does anybody want to sponsor a set? It's 43. Okay, Rameshwar Prabhu, give him a... We only have like 30 seconds, so you got to do this fast. Okay, in the back, you're getting your form. Raise your hand, you'll get a form. Okay, Kurunov with Manaripura. Quick, there's like 20 seconds. This is no kidding around. Okay, forms over here, right there. Quick, quick, quick. Hands over here.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Bali Mardan, the Bali Mardan is here.
Hare Krishna. Vaisesika Prabhu.
Yes.
Can I have one question? Quick one. Because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was not able to finish his message that Varnashram is very important, and Srila Prabhupada followed in his footsteps. He says, half of my mission is not complete. So how important it is for our movement to continue on if there is no Varnashram Dharma?
That's a good question, and that's one of the main topics here at the ILS.
Haribo.
So please attend. Okay? Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, if you so desire, please engage us in the same selfless spirit in which you engage in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to assist you in expanding the compassion of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. Please let us expand our capacity for book distribution, Harinam, Transcendental Prasadam distribution, Varnashram, farms, education. Throw it in now. It's Vaishnav care, deity worship, child protection, cow protection. It's your last chance. Get it in, huh? Science preaching, etc., etc., etc. Please empower us. Please use us as instruments. We're at your ready service. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptarishcha kripasinabhevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo. Chaitanya Charitamritas, come get them. Sponsor one for somebody else, or we'll send one to you. And also, free gift in the very back. Hare Krishna. What? Ask him.